Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. Plenty to talk about this morning. I want to remind you all that I will be in Tampa, Florida on Sunday. I'm heading out tomorrow for a trip. I'll be in Dallas with Andrew Womack Ministries for a Gospel Truth Conference. I'm not scheduled to speak, but I do have some things to do down there. I will be visiting the David Barton Museum down there, historic museum down there, and having a chance to, I hope to talk to David and Tim Barton, the two historical experts, two great historians here in America. Let's see, this coming Sunday, that's the 3rd. I will be at Believers Fellowship on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. For their morning service. And the pastor, John Freet, is the great pastor of that church. And I will be hosted by Somebody Cares for the 50-day fight on Sunday evening at the Crossing Church. Pastor Greg Dumas is the pastor there. That's at 10130 Tuscany Ridge Drive in Tampa. Oh, and I didn't give you the address of Believers Fellowship, did I? Believers Fellowship is 5240 North Socrum Loop Road in Lakeland, Florida. That's where I'll be on Sunday morning. And then, of course, I'll be at the Crossing on Sunday evening. So if you're in the area or you know somebody who lives in the area and they want to come by and fellowship with us and have an opportunity to meet me, I'd love to see them and love to meet them. So it's going to be a busy 5 days. I'll be on the road for 5 days. And don't worry, we got plenty planned for you on this program each and every morning that I am on the road. And stand by, because I may be bringing some fast-breaking things to you. When I do that, it's probably going to be on Facebook, and then we'll post it other places where I'll live stream sort of off the cuff in order to get something out that I really want to get out as we come to the conclusion here. I want to encourage you. We've got a letter going out this morning about illegal immigration and about our final 5 days of advertising in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. Folks, we are down to the wire, and this thing is neck and neck if we are to believe the polls. The polls, I do believe, understate Donald Trump's level of support. But still, I don't think we can take anything for granted. I believe we must presume that it is a close race and every single vote is going to count. And that is why my strategic position to this is to get the black vote up for Donald Trump and down for Kamala Harris. And we are the only organization that is actually doing ads in strategic places in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, trying to accomplish just that. We're saturating the airways, and we're trying to do some social media, but we're working through these issues with the social media people. I tell you, these folks, if Kamala Harris and this communist Tim Walz, these two communists if they were to get elected, folks, we are looking at a censorship regime in our country. They are going to do everything they can to silence those they don't agree with or like. And there's just no question about it there. But as I've said before, but they're not going to do it with a disinformation governance board like they tried the last time. They're going to do it in a more stealthy way. They're not going to tell you they're doing it. They're just going to do it. And they're going to try to pass laws against hate speech that would say, certain things you can't say. And they'll make an exception if you're in your church. In your church, you might be able to say certain religious things that, might not be acceptable in public. But in public, you will not be able to say them. You'll be fired from your job if you say them, or you are reported to have said them. These people are totalitarianists, folks. They keep pointing the finger at Donald Trump, but these are the real totalitarianists. In fact, let me not get ahead of myself. Let's get into this today. Just a couple of quick things. I I shouldn't say. I was about to say I'm disappointed, but I'm not disappointed. I guess actually it's just a confirmation. George Bush's daughter is supporting George W. Bush, Bush 2. His daughter is supporting Comrade Kamala. But then again, it's sad because I supported George W. Bush because I thought he's a Christian, he's a believer, he's really a decent man, and his first administration wasn't bad. But here again, I don't think George Bush feels it in his bones. I really don't. And the fact that his daughters are pro-baby killing, and the fact that they are pro-homosexual unions, and so is his wife, by the way, tells me that this is a man who doesn't have any real influence in his family. He is the leader of the free world, and his own family is all over the place. They're a moral sewer. Yeah, they're a moral sewer. And he's touting himself as a born-again Christian, and they clearly, his own wife is pro-abortion. And his daughters are pro-abortion. In fact, they were in New York supporting some kind of homosexual thing of some kind. I guess marching in the sexual deviancy parade that they have. Just at any rate, you know what? I'm not even spending more time on these people because it's just disappointing. When you supported someone and you thought that person was really a good person, a good leader for the country. And I'm not saying everything he did was wrong. It wasn't. But the moment he came out and said Islam is a peaceful religion, I thought to myself, okay, well, now the real George Bush is emerging, because no Christian would say that. We know better. We know better from the history. We know better from what the Quran teaches. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, not Muhammad. Islam is a peaceful religion. Give me a break. I mean, what kind of ignoramus do you have to be to say something like that? Now, you could say certainly not all Muslims are terrorists, and many Muslims want to live in peace. I don't have any doubt about that. But to say Islam is a peaceful religion, that's a lie. It's not. But anyway, so that's one thing. Joe Biden has now come out, as I remember, I keep saying this. This is what their attacks on Donald Trump are really indicative of what they think of you and me. I mean, don't make any mistake about that. It's ultimately not about Donald Trump. It's about the people in this country who love God, love America, believe in our Constitution, understand that we're a constitutional republic. We're patriots. We're not ashamed of being patriots, of loving our country. We want our people to have individual liberty. We do not believe in collectivism. We do not believe in group identity. We believe in individual liberty. They hate us. They hate us. And Joe Biden now finally came out and said something, the equivalent of what Hillary Clinton said. And Barack Obama said, we who walk around clinging to our guns and our Bibles. Well, I certainly do cling to my Bible. I don't know about clinging to my gun, but I carry it. Yes, indeed, I do. But and then Hillary with the deplorables. Now apparently Donald Trump supporters are trash, because some dumb comedian made an offhand remark about Puerto Rico, and we don't agree with any broad generalizations denigrating a whole group of people. It's certainly not based upon their demography or their race or their ethnicity or anything like that. Now, I certainly denigrate ideas, and everybody who believes in a certain set of ideas. I mean, the Bible says the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. So if you're one of those people who says there is no God, you are a fool. But that's not because Bishop Jackson says so. That's because the Bible says so. But guess what? The door is open to fools to stop being fools. Right? I mean, the whole book of Proverbs says, wisdom cries aloud from the highest places in the city. You that are simple, come in here. So the door is wide open, the invitation wide open, to stop being a fool. But you're not a fool by virtue of your skin color or your ethnicity or the language you speak or anything like that. So I look, this comedian just made an offhanded remark, stupid remark about Puerto Rico. But Biden comes along and does worse, because Biden says anybody supporting Donald Trump is trash. Trash. This is the Biden who said, I'm going to bring people together. Yeah, right. And that was another lie out of the pit of hell. Here's an interesting one, too. This is just a couple of tidbits I thought I'd share with you this morning before I get into the major issue I want to talk to. I don't know who this woman is. I mean, I know of Fleetwood Mac. Everybody knows Fleetwood Mac. I know of them. I don't know who they are. I mean, I don't listen, I've never listened to Fleetwood Mac music, or at least not knowingly. Maybe I heard a song that was being sung by Fleetwood Mac and didn't know who it was. You know, maybe the radio was on or somebody's playing some music and I overheard it. But I don't know who these people are. But I mean, Stevie Nicks, a woman, by the way, Stevie Nicks, is now saying, where did she say this? Oh, she told CBS News Sunday Morning. Now, this is the other thing. Why in the world is Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac singer, on CBS News Sunday Morning? What does she have to offer? Now, I don't watch CBS News. I don't watch any of these alphabet communist networks because they're all just a bunch of leftists. That's all. And it's just they've just got a little club of leftists. I'm not interested in being listening to their indoctrination. But she's on for Sunday morning, CBS News Sunday Morning. And guess what she is apparently on to say, or at least this was apparently a significant part of her interview. Fleetwood Mac wouldn't exist had she not killed her first unborn baby. And she's bragging about that. She got rid of her unborn baby so that Fleetwood Mac can live. I mean, this just goes to show you the perverse values of these people. She says she found out she was pregnant. She was very dismayed. She was pregnant by Eagles frontman Don Henley. She was very dismayed. She says, I'm like, this can't be happening. Fleetwood Mac is 3 years in, and it's big, and we're going into our third album. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I would have tried my best to get through, being in the studio every single day expecting a child, but mostly having a child with Don Henley would not have gone over big in Fleetwood Mac with Lindsay and me, and we had been broken up for 2 or 3 years. It would have been a nightmare scenario for me to live through. Said, I am not the kind of woman who would hand, and here's another reason she gave for the abortion. I am not the kind of woman who would hand my baby over to a nanny, not in a million years. So we'd be dragging a baby around the world on tour, and I wouldn't do that to my baby. So we're not going to do any of that. I'm going to kill it. Jesus said, when the eye is dark, the body is full of darkness. I mean, you hear and for CBS Sunday Morning News to put this woman on to say, I was not gonna have my baby with a nanny. I was not gonna have my baby on tour with me. No, I killed it. Folks, I mean, that stuff, it's enough to make you cry. I mean, because it is so perverse. It's just wicked. And she says, so my decision was to have an abortion. If people want to be mad at me about that, I don't really care, because my life was my life and my plan was my plan and had been since I was in the 4th grade. Notice what the theme is. Me, 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 me. I. And refers to it as her baby. I wouldn't have done this with my baby. I wouldn't have done that with my baby. So I did the right thing. I killed it. Lord have mercy, folks. That's the world the Democrat Party wants to give us, a world in which people are lauded for saying I knew what was best for my baby. I didn't want my baby on tour with me. I didn't want my baby being taken care of by a nanny, so I killed it. Wow. How courageous. Wow. What a wonderful thing. You know, you executed your unborn baby rather than having to deal with the inconvenience of being with you on tour. I mean, God forbid, that might get in the way of you getting high on drugs and sleeping around and being at all-night parties and all that. So, yeah, I mean, my goodness gracious, we can't have that. You are to be lauded for such moral clarity. It's just, you know, there's a special place in hell for people like that. And somebody better get to that woman and tell her to repent. Because she's concerned about, if you all want to be mad at me, it's not a question of me being mad with her. She's going to have to answer to Almighty God one day. Well, here again, I don't know Fleetwood Mac, but I just thought I'd bring that out because to me it's indicative of where the Democrat Party wants to take us. That's what they want to be normal in America. And it's not only sad and disheartening, it is thoroughly disgusting and depraved. You know, it sounds like a psychopath who says, well, you know, if I hadn't killed him, I mean, I might not have gotten the promotion. And I wasn't going to deprive my family of the benefit of my increased salary, so I just killed my rival. And for the cops to go, well, you want to be mad at me, go ahead and be mad at me, but, you know, I did what was right for me. To me, it's analogous. It's psychopathic. Okay, enough with that. Steve Bannon just got out of federal prison yesterday. And again, this leads me into what I want to talk about mainly, which is Kamala Harris has got the unmitigated gall to say that if Donald Trump is elected, he wants to put people in jail. Now, Peter Navarro has been in federal prison. Steve Bannon has been in federal prison. Not because they went out and robbed anybody, defrauded anybody, hurt anybody, but because they did what many Democrats have done. They refused to cooperate and respond to a subpoena from the United States Congress to testify. And the Democrats referred it to the Justice Department and had them locked up. I mean, they put these men in federal lockup for months. And she's got the nerve to say if Donald Trump if he gets elected, he's going to put his opponents in jail. Donald Trump was in office for 4 years. Can anybody think of any opponents that Donald Trump tried to have put in jail? I know there was a lot of chanting about, you know, lock her up. But when Donald Trump was asked about it after becoming president, you know, he said, no, I'm not going to, I have no interest in that. But how many times have they tried to lock up President Trump? And by the way, they're still trying to lock him up. They still want to put him in jail. And that's what Joe Biden said recently. He should be locked up. I meant locked up politically. What a sniveling little liar. We know what he meant. He meant, I want to be able to put him in jail. Not his son for having violated federal statutes on firearms or having violated drug laws on multiple occasions and probably having violated laws against relations with foreign governments because he was nothing but a surrogate for his father in a basically a bribery scheme, a pay-to-play scheme. I mean, that's what it was, where millions of dollars get funneled through him so his father has plausible deniability. He probably should be put in jail for that scheme. You know, here both Joe, like, no, my son has done nothing wrong. Again, they are to be commended for their level of moral clarity, aren't they? I mean, well, look, how many people are in prison right now for the January 6th situation that shouldn't be there? And they're getting on Donald Trump now because he said he's going to pardon some of those people and get some of those people out of prison. Now, he's made clear it's going to be a case-by-case basis. But people who didn't commit acts of violence, people who maybe they trespassed, maybe they weren't supposed to be in the Capitol, although it's hard to make that argument when the police, you have video of the police opening the doors and letting them come in, escorting them in. But a lot of those people in jail right now should not be there. And President Trump said he's going to do something about that. So who used the Justice Department to put their opponents in jail? Donald Trump or Biden-Harris? Okay. Now, what about sending the FBI to Mar-a-Lago? And you all saw the pictures of FBI agents standing around with automatic weapons, and by the way, told by the president to use lethal force if necessary for a case that was bogus from the very beginning, has now been dismissed by the Supreme Court. So in other words, that case is not even pending. It was thrown out. And they sent people with, I think they were automatic weapons, automatic, semi-automatic weapons. If you saw them standing around, they had big guns. When the former president was there with his own Secret Service detail, and those documents were locked up, and really, for all practical purposes, guarded by the United States Secret Service, and the FBI went there at the point of a gun to retrieve documents in a case that has since been thrown out. Who's using the government to prosecute their enemies? I mean, it's clear. So what chutzpah, what unmitigated gall to point the finger at Donald Trump, to accuse him of doing something he's never done, when this administration has done it over and over and over and over again. How many people are in federal prison right now if we're sitting peacefully outside of a baby killing factory, which they call an abortion so-called clinic? It's not a clinic. It's a factory of death. Peacefully saying the rosary, singing hymns, praying to God, and 70-year-old plus ladies are now sitting in federal prison because the Biden administration put them there, the Justice Department put them there, because killing unborn babies is such a sacred right of their pagan religion that anybody who gets in the way of it, they want severely punished. I think that whole abortion protection act thing is unconstitutional anyway, because it denies people freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. You don't hear them talking about people blocking the roads, folks trying to get to work, blocking the streets, people can't traverse the streets. Doing all kinds of crazy stuff in the name of social justice, but you don't hear any complaints from the Justice Department about that, and you don't get any prosecutions either. Ever. Was a single person prosecuted by the Biden Justice Department for their activities during the George Floyd riots? If they were, it's a well-kept secret. And how about the pastors arrested during COVID? One of whom they had to pay, I think California had to pay a substantial settlement for having violated the pastor's civil rights. But Rodney Howard Brown was arrested down in Tampa, Florida. Rob Roy, I believe, was arrested. Rob McCoy was out in California, I believe, was arrested. I was threatened with arrest, but also told, because I had a good relationship with the police department in Chesapeake, Virginia, but I was told that nobody complained, they weren't coming. But they knew I wasn't closing up my church services, that we were meeting as usual. We didn't require masks. People were welcome to wear them if they wanted to. We didn't require masks. And we simply recommended to people that families sit together, to the extent that there's room, create some distance between yourself and others if you know you feel comfortable doing that. But we didn't have any rigid requirements. And we never had an outbreak in our church. Ever. So, but if the governor had his way, he would have had me arrested and put in jail for that. And who is it who's trying to prosecute their enemies and put them in prison? Well, it's not Donald Trump. And in terms of who would I trust with power, because let me just make clear, I think every American ought to think this way. I am highly skeptical of government. I don't care who's in charge of it. Okay, if leaders I believe in are in charge, I feel a little bit better, but I'm still skeptical. Because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I'm still skeptical. But if you want to ask me who would I trust with power, I'll trust Donald Trump over Kamala Harris any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Because I really believe that Donald Trump has the best interest of the country at heart, and Kamala Harris has an agenda of Marxism and socialism and communism and collectivism and racism that is in her heart, and she wants to implement that agenda. I don't care what she says. That's what she wants. She wants to restrict our Second Amendment rights. She wants to restrict our freedom of religion. She wants to restrict our freedom of speech. She wants to take power and use it to take control of the American people. Because the puppeteers behind her, that's what they want. And that's what she wants. That's what George Soros wants. That's what Barack Obama wants. That's what Bill Gates wants. I mean, he didn't write a check for $50 million out of the goodness of his heart. That was a down payment on what he hopes will be his own pathway to power. So the next time there's any kind of epidemic, he can call the shots, just like he did with Anthony Fauci. His little bought and paid for science boy. Yeah, that's right, because that's exactly what he was, a little bought and paid for science boy. Little mouthpiece for a bunch of corrupt oligarchs. And you had the left treating him like he was Moses, handing down manna from heaven and bringing the tablets of stone down from Mount Zion. I mean, just so thoroughly disgusting. I guess the only person who bowed to Anthony Fauci more than they did was Anthony Fauci, who apparently has pictures of himself everywhere to look at. And just wicked. Just wicked. Well, at any rate, it's clear what is going on. Let me get to one more thing. Look, the momentum is moving in Donald Trump's direction. We can't take anything for granted. Michigan went from lean Democrat to a toss-up. Pennsylvania went from lean Democrat to a toss-up. Wisconsin went from lean Democrat to a toss-up. Right now, Nevada seems to be moving a little bit in the wrong direction, but not much. All of these states, even though there's been some shift, are still very, very close. In 3 out of the 4 I just named, the shift is in Donald Trump's direction. And so it is for the other states. The states that we are working in, North Carolina, he's leading. Georgia, he's leading. I'm not so sure about Arizona, but things are, generally speaking, moving in the right direction. We want to keep them moving that way. Help us to do that. We've got 6 more days, or 5 more days to Election Day. And so we got 5 more days to do advertising, and we're planning to add some spots to our advertising buys to continue to try to saturate. We're now running about 5 spots a day on some of these stations that are running like $270 a spot, and we're running 5 a day. So you do the math, and we want to increase that. Some are less than that, obviously. Some are 50, 75 bucks. Some are 200, close to 300 bucks. So when all balances out, I said it's running us about 100 bucks a day per spot on average. So you give $100, we can run an additional ad on an additional radio station. You give us 500, we can run 5 additional ads on 5 different radio stations. You give us, again, $1,000, we can run 10 additional ads on 10 different radio stations. So, and so on the math goes. My goal is to probably spend another $5,000 plus $5,000 to $6,000 on additional ads over and above what we've done so far. And that's going to probably be for a spot, at least at one additional spot for saturation purposes on all 13 of the stations that we're running ads on right now. So anything you can do to help, go to standamericapac.us, standamericapac.us. Folks, this is the last day I will be making any appeal for funding. This is it. So if you haven't given, and maybe you thought about it, you want to, today's the day. This is the last, well, you can give any day, but this is the last day I will be making an appeal, because of course we get close enough, we no longer have time to get additional buys into radio stations. So what we want to do, we're planning to get done today, so that we know what we're going to be running right up to Election Day. One other thing, though, I want to get to, and that is this, because I am asked this question everywhere I go. What are we going to do about their cheating? Because we know they're going to cheat. What are we going to do about it? RNC is suing in Pennsylvania right now because there is an issue with, I think these are the mail-in ballots, right? There's some mail-in ballots that were for fraudulent, forgive me. There's some mail-in ballots that were improperly filled out. The law says that an improperly filled out mail-in ballot simply does not count. It is discounted. Democrats went before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and got the Supreme Court to decide 4-3 that these mail-in ballots will count and they'll be provisional and they can later cure the defect. But that's not what the law says. And the RNC is suing Pennsylvania to say you can't do that because it's against the law in Pennsylvania. So the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is essentially rewriting the law, which is what the leftist courts tend to do. Rewriting the law to get the outcome that they want. So they're already cheating. There's one other election issue that came up. Let me see if I can find that. Where did that happen? What am I? Of course, we're in Virginia. What am I thinking? In Virginia, where we've got an appeals court ordering Virginia to put 1,600 self-declared non-citizens back on the voter rolls. And the governor, to his credit, is going before the United States Supreme Court. So the Justice Department sued when he took these people off the rolls because they were self-declared non-citizens. The Justice Department sued and said, you got to put them back on the rolls. Now, why would the Justice Department sue to put non-citizens on the voter rolls? Because they want to cheat. So I said that to say the cheating has already begun, okay? An FEC commissioner has said that mail-in ballots are rife with fraud, and if there's any delay in getting an outcome, it's going to be because of mail-in ballots in some states that you can wait 5 days before they don't start counting the ballots until Election Day, and it may take days for them to get the count on the mail-in ballots because a lot of people are doing this in states where they have mail-in ballots, and you can have hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots that need to be counted, and they won't be counted by election night. So the FEC Commissioner Trey Traynor said that there's going to be fraud and abuse with mail-in ballots. And states are going to have to look at the system of utilizing mail-in ballots. As I said before, you go to the polls, you're given your ballot by the voter registrar, you cast your vote, you take it to the counting machine and you put it in the machine. Only two people touch that ballot, the registrar and you. With mail-in ballots, you got the person who fills it out, the person who mails it, who might be different than the person who fills it out, the person who has to open up the envelope to verify that it is an authentic mail-in ballot envelope. So now you've already got a third person involved. Then you've got somebody else who's got to verify that the ballot itself is valid. And I think that's probably the same person who puts the ballot into the counter. But look at all the hands you've got touching these ballots. Your mail-in ballots are just an opportunity. They provide multiple opportunities to commit fraud, multiple opportunities to do something wrong. And when you've got a federal election commissioner saying, we need to stop the mail-in ballots, or we've got to put restrictions in place. Oh, by the way, that's right. There was one other thing. Heard about the fire in Multnomah County. That's Washington, D.C., I'm pretty sure. Washington, D.C., Washington State, I meant to say. But Multnomah County, a bunch of drop boxes were set on fire, destroying the ballots. Now, folks, during COVID, you and I complained, many complained about drop boxes because they were not consistent with the law. There was no provision for a drop box. The drop boxes are insecure. They're not guarded. That's why somebody was able to come and set fire to those drop boxes. Now, why in the world in Washington State, I can't in Washington, D.C., why in the world in Washington State? Sorry about that. That's Oregon. Multnomah County is Oregon. I got to get my geography straight, don't I? Multnomah County is in Oregon. Even better. Why in the world in a state as liberal as Oregon would they be burning up drop boxes? Could it be because they surmise that these particular drop boxes have more conservative voters in them? I don't know, but I'm doing one thing. When you start burning up drop box ballots and you have no way of knowing who voted, who left their ballots in those drop boxes, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, you have no way of knowing who did it. Because even if you say, well, we know who had drop box ballots, if there's a special thing called drop box ballots, because I've never experienced drop boxes, but assuming there is, how would you know whether they voted with them or not? They say, well, if they didn't vote, they're going to still have the ballot. Well, how do you know that that's a valid ballot? That they don't have a counterfeit, or they don't have a duplicate, or somebody didn't create something. In other words, how do you know they're not planning to vote twice, or 3 times, or 4 times in various drop boxes? I mean, again, just like mail-in ballots, this stuff is just fraught with opportunities for fraud. So I would say, people ask me, are they going to cheat? No, they're already cheating. It's already begun. The only question is whether they can cheat sufficiently to overcome the margin by which Donald Trump will win. That's the only question. Are they going to cheat? Of course they are. Because they believe, again, like all good communists, that their way of life, that their plans for a country are so superior to anything else that it is worth lying, stealing, cheating, and killing if necessary in order to get their way, because it is such a gift to the people that the people cannot be denied by mere mortals who simply don't understand the wondrous utopia that they are about to be living in. Yeah, that's their attitude. See, whereas you and I know, even if Donald Trump gets elected, or even if I were to get elected, we're not going to have a utopia. We're going to have the best system available to mankind that is going to carry with it the inherent flaws of sinful human beings. And so we have to continually watch it, be vigilant about it, not allow anybody to have too much power, because, again, we know power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we're not looking for utopia. We're simply looking for a limited government that secures our liberty and gets out of our way. That's all. Does the things we can't do for ourselves, provides an army, provides national security, provides infrastructure for us. And by the way, the government's not doing that as a gift. We pay for that with our tax dollars. So we want a government that does all that and then gets out of our way. We don't need government engineering our lives. We don't need government operating on our children and injecting our children with hormones. We don't need government teaching our children what to think and how to think and what's moral and not moral, what's moral and what's not moral. We can do that. Thank you very much. We just need government to do its constitutional role and then get out of the way of the American people so that we can build the society that we want. Democrats don't see it that way. You're in the way of government, and they want government to be the juggernaut that, if necessary, runs over you to create what you really need, whether you're smart enough to know it or not. And from their perspective, we aren't smart enough to know it, because if we were, we'd be supporting Kamala Harris. So we're trash. Yeah, we're trash. We just need to be discarded so they can create the wonderful country they have in mind for all the smart people who know that what they have in mind is wonderful. Well, of course, I say that all tongue-in-cheek. You all know what you have to do. We've got to get out there and vote, and we've got to turn out every vote in our power. And as I said yesterday, please go listen to my sermon from Sunday. We put it on Facebook on Monday. Always do that. On Mondays, we always air my sermon from Sunday. It was called Christians in Elections. Will you be overcome, or will you be an overcomer? And I talked about Christians as a societal immune system. And if we abdicate, if we don't speak up, if we don't stand up, if we don't vote, it's like your immune system saying, I refuse to defend you against sickness and disease, and that is pronouncing a death penalty. If Christians don't act as the immune system against the infection of sin and corruption and depravity, sin and corruption and depravity will destroy this nation from within, while Christians stand back and watch it happen, saying, I'm not getting involved in politics. Not me. And then watch it destroy you, destroy your children, destroy your grandchildren, and destroy our posterity until Jesus comes. So that when he comes, he doesn't find a nation whose God is the Lord. He comes and finds a nation whose God is the devil. That's what will happen without Christian engagement, involvement, and voting. So please tell any Christian you meet who plans not to vote, who says, I'm not getting involved, please say, you ought to listen to this sermon by Bishop E.W. Jackson. It's called Christians in Elections. Will you be overcome, or will you be an overcomer? You ought to just check it out and then tell me what you think. Let's talk about it. Because I don't believe any person who is honest with themselves can listen to that message and believe that it's okay for Christians not to vote, or that somehow it's wrong for Christians to be involved in politics. Because if we are salt and light in a decaying and dark world, there's no area of life where the salt and light should not be applied. God bless each and every one of you. That's going to do it. Pray for me. I will be on the road, but stay tuned because we will have something for you tomorrow through next Monday. And I'll be coming to you maybe with some blurbs here and there as the Lord leads. But I will be back with you live and in person on Election Day and on the day after to chronicle the events to keep you up to date on what's taking place and my take on it. And I hope to herald the great victory a week from today, the great victory for Donald Trump, for J.D. Vance, and for the United States of America, most importantly. God bless her. God bless everybody. You know what to do. Stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side. God bless everybody.